Part 1. The Illusion of the Perfect Self. Have you ever felt it? That subtle, almost imperceptible click as the mask locks into place. You feel it in the morning, as you choose the person you'll be for your colleagues. You feel it during a family dinner, constructing a smile while a storm rages inside you. You feel it when you receive a compliment for a success that, in the quiet moments of the night, feels utterly hollow, making you feel like a fraud. You say, "I'm fine," when the truth is, you are carrying a weight that feels heavy enough to crack the very foundations of your world. This is the great performance, and the stage is your life. Every single day, you pour a staggering amount of your life's energy into maintaining this character, the calm professional, the supportive friend, the perfect partner. You are the director, the actor, and the critic in a play where the only audience that truly matters is yourself. You meticulously curate your digital life, editing your reality into a flawless highlight reel. You choose your words with the precision of a poet, not to express truth, but to manage perception. You have become an artist of the facade. The applause comes. People admire your strength, your consistency, your unwavering calm. They see the polished surface and marvel at its perfection. But you are backstage. In the deafening silence after the curtain falls, you are left alone with the truth. You feel the bone-deep exhaustion, not from the work you've done, but from the performance you've given. A gnawing emptiness that whispers a terrifying secret. You are an imposter in your own life. And while the audience cheers, you alone know that the beautifully painted set is just one breath away from collapsing. We are told from our earliest days that the source of our problems is our imperfection. We are taught to wage a relentless war on our flaws. Your anger? Suppress it. Your envy? Be ashamed of it. Your insecurity? Hide it at all costs. An entire industry is built on this premise: to fix you, to sand down your rough edges, to present a more marketable, more acceptable version of you to the world. We are told to fight a battle against our own nature, a civil war within our own soul. But what if this is the greatest lie we've ever been sold? The truth is, your deepest fatigue does not come from your flaws. It comes from the superhuman effort you expend trying to pretend they do not exist. The real problem isn't the crack in the marble. It's the exhausting, moment-to-moment effort of hiding it. The true source of your suffering is not the anger you feel, but the shame you attach to it. It's not the feeling of envy, but the desperate pretense that you are above such a human emotion. Imagine you are holding a beach ball underwater. Your flaws are the ball. Society tells you that the goal is to keep that ball submerged, completely hidden from view. You push down with all your might, your muscles straining, your focus absolute. From the surface, you may look calm, composed, but underneath, you are engaged in a titanic, unwinnable struggle. Your energy drains away, not because of the ball itself, but because of the constant, relentless pressure you must apply to keep it hidden. Your strength is not being used to swim, but merely to conceal. What if I told you that all your fatigue, your burnout, and that profound sense of being a counterfeit in your own skin comes not from the existence of this ball, but from the struggle to deny it? What if the key to reclaiming your energy, your authenticity, and your very soul wasn't to push harder, but to simply let go? Part 2. The Great Lie of Positive Thinking. So you stand there backstage in your own life, exhausted from holding that beach ball of your imperfections underwater. You feel the strain in every fiber of your being, and right at that moment of near surrender, our culture offers you a solution so simple, so elegant, and so incredibly dangerous. Just be positive. It's whispered from every corner of the modern world. Banish negative thoughts. Force a smile. Vibrate at a higher frequency. Ignore the encroaching darkness and focus only on the light. It sounds like a lifeline. It feels like an escape. But it is the most sophisticated poison you will ever be sold, disguised as medicine. This relentless demand for positivity is the worst advice you could ever receive. Why? Because it is an instruction to become a liar to yourself. It's like seeing the check engine light blinking urgently on your car's dashboard and deciding the best solution is to cover it with a smiley face sticker. The light is gone. The problem feels solved, but the engine is still failing. The damage is still spreading silently, catastrophically, beneath the hood. The sticker doesn't fix the engine. It just silences the warning that could have saved you. Your darker emotions, your anger, your jealousy, your fear, your sorrow are not your enemies. They are your check engine lights. They are messengers from the deepest part of you, trying to deliver a critical piece of intelligence. Your anger is not a flaw to be suppressed. It is a sacred signal, a fire alarm screaming that a core value has been violated or a boundary has been crossed. Your envy is not a sin to be ashamed of. It is a painful spotlight, illuminating a profound desire or a path you long to walk but haven't yet dared. Your fear is not a weakness. It's the voice of an ancient guardian pointing to something that you cherish and are afraid to lose. When you follow forced positivity, you don't defeat these messengers. You just refuse to answer the door. You lock them in the basement of your psyche. And there, in the dark, they don't simply vanish. They fester. They curdle. They mutate. Suppressed anger transforms into a chronic, low-grade anxiety that hums beneath the surface of everything you do. Suppressed sorrow becomes an unexplainable depression, a gray fog that descends for no reason on a perfectly sunny day. Suppressed fear becomes a series of irrational phobias or a paralyzing inability to take risks. It all leaks out sideways in sudden outbursts of rage over a spilled glass of milk, in a bitterness that poisons your relationships, in a profound cynicism that colors your entire world. You think you're cultivating a garden of positivity, watering it with affirmations, and protecting it from every shadow. In reality, you're burying poison beneath the flowers, and that poison is seeping into the soil, tainting the roots of everything you are. The joy you feel becomes thin and brittle because it is terrified of its opposite. The love you give becomes conditional because you cannot tolerate the messiness of a whole, imperfect human being. You are building a beautiful house on a toxic landfill, and you're wondering why you always feel vaguely sick. This forced positivity isn't a virtue, it's a spiritual sickness, an act of profound self-abandonment. It doesn't make you strong, it makes you fragile, because a self that cannot withstand the truth of its own experience is a self that can be shattered by anything. It doesn't make you better, it makes you blind, blind to the crucial wisdom your own soul is trying to give you, blind to the real work of healing that needs to be done, blind to the magnificent, terrifying, and complete truth of who you are. Part 3. Meeting Your Monsters. You have come to the threshold of the forbidden country within yourself. You stand at the border, and you can hear the faint, unsettling whispers of the life you have disowned. The great question is no longer where your power is hidden, but whether you have the courage to claim it. So, let's stop running. Let's turn around, together, and walk calmly toward the sounds we have been taught to fear our entire lives. Let's dare to look into the dark, not with the intention of fighting, but with the quiet resolve of a king returning to his forgotten lands, guided by a moral compass that seeks not indulgence, but wholeness. Let's start with the one they tell you is the ugliest of all, envy. That sharp, bitter pang you feel when you see another person achieve something you secretly desire. You are taught this is a sin, a petty, shameful flaw to be crushed. But this is a profound misunderstanding. Picture an architect spending his days in a soulless corporate tower, drafting another glass and steel box that will never touch the sky in a meaningful way. Late one night, scrolling through his feed, he sees a post from an old classmate. It's a small, breathtaking home of wood and stone that seems to have grown out of the forest floor, bathed in golden light. And that sharp, bitter pang hits him, not in his mind, but deep in his chest. That feeling is not a cheap desire for his classmate's success. It is a sacred, though distorted compass, pointing directly at his own betrayed dreams. It is the cry of the part of his soul that wanted to create beauty, a dream he starved and locked away in a cage-marked stability. Instead of letting its poison of resentment fill his heart, he can learn to ask it a different question. What dream of my own have I abandoned that this person's success is so painfully reminding me of? Understood this way, envy ceases to be a sin of comparison and becomes a holy map leading you back home. Then there is that hot surge of anger, the one that feels like a bolt of lightning inside you. We are told it is primitive, destructive, impolite, a sign of being out of control. But this is to mistake the fire alarm for the fire. Think of the soft-spoken designer, a ghost in the machine who for years has watched her concepts be quietly absorbed and presented by others. She stays silent because that is what good team players do. But one day, a junior team member, full of fragile hope, presents a brilliant idea, only to see it casually belittled by a senior manager, and something ignites within her. It is not a chaotic red rage. It is a clean, white-hot flame of pure clarity. With a calm, steady voice she has never used before, she speaks. She simply lays out the truth and defends her colleague. In that moment, she feels not shame, but her own spine. Your anger is a signal flare of the soul, screaming that a sacred boundary has been crossed. To silence it is to consent to the violation of your own spirit. It is the righteous fire that forges character. And what about that cold grip of fear? The feeling that paralyzes you, that whispers of every possible failure. We call it cowardice, an enemy to be overcome. But your fear is not your enemy. It is the most ancient and loyal guardian of your heart. Consider the father running alongside a small bicycle, his hand hovering ready to catch. His daughter is pedaling, wobbling, a look of terrified joy on her face. With every wobble, the father's heart seizes. Is this cowardice? No. It is a perfect, living measure of his love. The intensity of his fear is directly proportional to the preciousness of the treasure he is about to let go into the world. Your fear whispers, "Pay attention. What is at stake here is deeply important to you." We do not fear what we are indifferent to. We only fear losing what we truly love. Fear is not the absence of courage. It is the clearest evidence that you have something precious worth being courageous for. We have been taught to call these feelings our monsters, our demons, the dark tenants of our inner world that must be exorcised. But they are not demons. They are your wounded guardian angels trying to scream a message to you through the prison walls you have built. They are wounded because we have refused to listen, shamed them into silence, and banished them to the darkness. Their voices have become distorted. Their warnings have become painful. Their love has become twisted into something that feels like a threat, all because we have abandoned them. They are not here to destroy you. They are here to be understood, and through that understanding, to save you. Part 4. The Price of Ignorance, Projection. But what happens if we refuse to listen? What is the price of leaving your guardian angels wounded and unheard in the dark? What is the cost of living a life at war with your own truth, a life spent perpetually running from yourself? The price is not just your own exhaustion. The price is catastrophic because it poisons the very way you see the world. There is a law of the soul as certain as the law of gravity. What you refuse to see inside yourself, you will be forced to see in everyone around you. When you refuse to acknowledge your own shadow, your mind performs a terrifying act of self-preservation. It takes all that disowned darkness, your repressed anger, your hidden ambition, your secret fears, and it projects it outwards like a film onto a blank screen. That screen becomes the people in your life. You begin to see your own disowned qualities everywhere. You are the operator in a cinema of your own making, and you are the only one in the audience who doesn't know you are also the director. You rage against the arrogant person at work, blind to the fact that you are raging against your own magnificent ambition, which you were taught to see as a sin. You seethe with judgment for the lazy friend who takes a day to rest, because you are at war with your own profound, bone-deep need for grace and stillness. You become obsessed with the perceived flaws of your partner, your family, your leaders, never realizing you are simply screaming at a mirror. This is the great, tragic illusion of the unexamined life. You believe you are fighting monsters out in the world, but you are only ever fighting ghosts within your own house. The things that infuriate you most in others are not random annoyances. They are coded messages from your own soul. They are the desperate cries of your exiled self, pointing back to the parts of you that are begging to be seen, to be understood, to be healed. Think of the person who is obsessed with rooting out hypocrisy in others. They are a detective of inauthenticity, constantly pointing out how others fail to live up to their stated values. But look closer. Often, you will find a person who is living a life profoundly out of step with their own deepest calling, a walking contradiction. They cannot bear the quiet agony of their own inauthenticity, so they project it. They hunt for hypocrisy in the world to distract from the unbearable truth of the hypocrisy within their own heart. Their crusade is not a noble search for truth. It is a desperate flight from it. This is the root of so much of the poison in our world. The endless judgment, the bitter criticism, the self-righteous hatred that flows so freely online and in our communities. It is a world of people shadowboxing with their own reflections. We create enemies outside of ourselves to avoid the terrifying sacred work of facing the one within. We build entire ideologies, entire movements, based on the projection of our collective shadows onto a designated other. We divide the world into heroes and villains, pure and impure, us and them, because it is infinitely easier than acknowledging the messy, magnificent, and terrifying complexity that exists inside every single one of us. You are not at war with the world. You are at war with your own reflection, and in that war, there can be no winners, only casualties. You can spend your entire life fighting this phantom enemy, throwing your precious energy, your passion, and your short time on this earth into a battle that can never be won. Or you can choose to do the one thing you have been avoiding all along. You can finally turn off the projector. Part 5. The Alchemy of the Soul. 3 steps to wholeness. So you stand in the ruins of a war you can no longer win, the projector finally turned off. The phantom enemies have vanished, and you are left in the silent, echoing theater of your own soul. The question hangs in the air, heavy and profound. How do you stop a war that rages inside yourself? The answer is, you don't. You don't stop the war. You end it by changing the very nature of the conflict. You have been told to fight, to conquer, to defeat the darkness within you. This is the path of endless struggle. There is another way. It is not the way of the soldier, but of the alchemist. It is the ancient, sacred art of turning lead into gold. This is not about letting your dark side run wild, indulging its every chaotic impulse. That is not freedom. It is a different kind of prison. This is about integration. It is the process of taking the raw, heavy, and often toxic material of your shadow and transmuting it through wisdom and courage into the very source of your greatest strength and character. It is the path to wholeness. This alchemy of the soul follows 3 sacred steps. The first is awareness without judgment. This is the beginning of all true transformation. The next time you feel that powerful, visceral, negative reaction to another person, that flash of anger, that sting of judgment, that wave of disgust, do not turn away. Do not immediately justify it. Instead, for just one moment, stop. See it for what it is, a signal, a mirror, and in the quiet of your own heart, gently ask the question, what part of me is this touching? What deep, forgotten corner of my own country is this person reflecting back to me? You are not asking this to blame yourself, but to become a compassionate witness to your own inner world. You become a curious explorer, not a harsh judge. This simple act of pausing and questioning breaks the spell of projection. It is the first ray of light entering the forgotten room. The second step is to understand the intent. Once you have identified the part of you that has been stirred, you must approach it not as an enemy, but as a misguided friend. For behind every shadow quality, behind every monster, lies a positive, protective impulse that has been distorted. It is a guardian angel that has been wounded and is now screaming its message in a painful way. Your rage is not there to destroy. It is the raw energy of a part of you that wants to protect a sacred boundary. Your envy is not there to poison you with bitterness. It is the desperate cry of a part of you that wants to motivate you towards a life you are meant to live. Your fear is not there to paralyze you. It is the voice of a loyal guardian trying to keep safe what you hold most dear. Here, you ask a second question. What does this part of me, in its own distorted way, truly want for my well-being? You are learning to hear the love behind the roar, the noble intention behind the clumsy and painful expression. The third and most crucial step is constructive channeling. This is the heart of the alchemy. Once you have seen the reflection and understood its loving intent, You can no longer leave that powerful energy locked in the basement. You must give it a job, a purpose. You must build a channel for that raw power, directing it towards a mature, moral, and productive end. Imagine your anger is a mighty river. Left untamed, it will flood the landscape, destroying everything in its path. But if you build a dam, that same destructive force can be channeled to generate light and power for an entire city. So you take the fierce energy of your anger and channel it not into petty arguments, but into a disciplined fight against real injustice in your community. You take the sharp, hungry energy of envy and channel it not into resentment, but into a focused, disciplined plan to build the life your soul is crying out for. You take the energy of your fear and transform it into profound preparation, into careful planning, into a deeper cherishing of the people and values you are afraid to lose. You think the goal is to kill the monster within,